Welcome to the Wellness Project with Des. I'm your host, Des, a mental health therapist and holistic wellness coach. On this podcast, I bring you conversations with experts in mental health and wellness, along with powerful firsthand stories from those who have navigated their own mental health journeys. Together, we explore practical tips, tools, and strategies to support your well being, offering hope, encouragement, and inspiration along the way. I'm so grateful that you're here. If you enjoy the show, I'd love for you to take a moment to leave a review on iTunes and rate the podcast 5 stars on Spotify. Your support helps the Wellness Project with Des to grow, bringing even more incredible guests and valuable insights to our community. And make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss a thing. Enjoying the podcast? Stay tuned until the end to find out how you can support the show and ways we can work together. Now let's dive in. Hey there, I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining me today. You are listening to episode number 194, and on today's episode, I am speaking with Taylor Marie, and today's episode is very, very interesting. So, it is about cults. Now, there has been a rise in online cults, and Taylor Marie is a therapist that specializes in narcissistic abuse and cult recovery. And she got into this field. She was originally going to school already to be a therapist, but she focuses on this topic, this niche, because she actually has experience in her own life that she was recruited into an online cult. And she was in this cult for 2 years, and then she left the cult and faced a lot of retaliation from the cult. Now, the thing is, when you hear online cults, it may sound kind of silly or removed or not as serious, but just thinking about how ingrained our lives are, how intertwined they are with the online space, that there's really no escape. Like, even when you think of online bullying, back before the internet, before social media, if you were bullied at school, there was an escape, right? You left school, there was this physical boundary. And now our lives are so intertwined with the online space that it just kind of follows you everywhere. It's ever present in our lives. So it's really hard to disconnect or remove ourselves from the things on the internet, especially when you think about internet addiction and just how intertwined our lives are with the online space. So when you think of online cults, it may not sound as serious as it is, but that's why Taylor Marie is here today to talk about how serious the topic is, how it's on the rise. She's here to bust some myths about cults and online cults, and she's really here to share not only her personal story, but also her professional expertise and to spread that education and that knowledge. So she comes on and educates us about common traits or themes that are found in cults and cult leaders and things to look out for. She also shares how family members or loved ones can help support their loved one that may be involved in a cult. Now, it's really interesting too. We talk about this a lot throughout the episode, but cults and cult leaders really overlap with narcissism, and that's why Taylor Marie's therapy practice focuses on not only cult recovery, but also narcissistic abuse, because they're very overlapped, they're very parallel and intertwined. This is a very, very important conversation. It's a very important episode, and I think that you're going to learn a lot from it. Again, online cults are on the rise, so it's so important for us to have this information, this knowledge, and this education, because with education comes critical thinking skills, and that is the way we are able to combat the rise in these cults. I think you're going to find this conversation very fascinating, very educational, and very informative. I know I sure did. I loved talking with Taylor Marie and hearing not only her personal experience, but also her expertise in the field. This is such a fascinating topic and one that I've been wanting to study more, and Taylor Marie has a lot of recommendations for that as well. So help me welcome Taylor Marie. Taylor Marie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This is going to be such a great conversation. We are talking about cults and cult recovery. So, before we get into that really fascinating topic and conversation, I would love if you could share your story with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Taylor Marie. I am 26 years old. I am a mental health therapist in Colorado, specializing in narcissistic abuse and cult recovery. But my story getting here is a little bit of a crazy one. I graduated from grad school in August of 2022 in clinical mental health counseling to be a therapist. And we could definitely get into this in a bit, but unfortunately, in my internship grad school, I was abused by my supervisor, which led me to not wanting to be a therapist after I graduated. So in August of 2022, I did graduate. I succeeded at that, but I did not have a therapy job lined up for myself. I was taking that time to heal and recover from the abuse because I was feeling very hurt and let down by the field, and I was feeling very lost. And during that time, that was when I was recruited into an online cult, a fully online cult. And I was in that cult for 2 years. I escaped in May of 2024. And a brief introduction to my involvement in this cult, I was one of the first people who was recruited. I was one of the people that has stayed the longest. I moved up the ranks fairly quickly. I became the star student after not that long. And then after I escaped, I had this interesting online thing back and forth with this cult that they retaliated against me. It was this whole big thing, and I took some time to heal afterwards, but then I revisited my roots. I revisited the path that I was originally on, which was to become a therapist. I healed my trauma around having a supervisor and the fear around having another abusive supervisor. I really intentionally worked on that because I always felt that I was meant to help people and be a therapist. So once I kind of got over that barrier, I started to be a therapist again, and I got a therapy job, and I gained my footing again, and I've been loving every minute of it. And now I specialize in the particular things that I've been through. So it adds a layer of meaningfulness to my work with my clients now.
Wow, absolutely. I'm so sorry that happened. Thank you so much for sharing your story and being here with us today to spread that awareness too, because I think when people think of cults, they don't really think of the online space. But I can definitely see that being very influential.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're not alone in that. A lot of people don't realize that fully online cults can exist. They do exist and they have existed. And more are forming every day. So it's really important to understand what to look out for cults in general, but also online cults. And I truly believe the first step is acknowledging that they exist and recognizing that and accepting that and believing that they are out there. I think that's the first step in helping people realize that.
Oh, absolutely. And before we dive into all of that, I just have so many questions. This is going to be a really great conversation to spread awareness and education to people.
Yeah.
Can you share with us how you define a cult?
Absolutely. Yeah. So in cult literature, there's not one definition that every cult scholar agrees upon, but there are themes that come out in every definition that everyone gives. So the way that I describe and define a cult is really any group or organization or even a leader that uses undue influence on individuals. So these individuals are influenced in an unhealthy way, in an unethical way. They're either lied to or exploited or being scammed. And then the way that individuals are recruited and maintained is also what defines a cult for me as well. But the main thing is exploitation, undue influence, and honestly taking advantage of members. And any group that doesn't allow free thinking, questioning, challenging, individuality, autonomy, anything that starts to threaten that about individuals and uses that to exploit them either financially, emotionally, psychologically, trying to get free labor out of people. Any group that does that, it's starting to near the culty side of groups and organizations.
Okay, and are there any sort of defining characteristics or traits or themes of the cult leader?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. So, cult leaders typically fall under the diagnosis of malignant narcissism or just regular narcissism. They have a sense of entitlement, they have a sense of grandiosity, they think they're very special, they only affiliate with other special people. Again, they don't hold themselves accountable, they can't be questioned, nothing is ever their fault. They just, again, they hold themselves to a very, very high regard. And the malignant part comes in is because they are actively taking advantage of and exploiting people and have disregard for the hurt and the pain that they are causing or that they will cause once the member realizes what is being done to them.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that because I'm actually listening to a podcast right now called Navigating Narcissism, and it's not running anymore. It's a podcast. It has ended, but cults actually come up quite a bit in the episodes. So it's really interesting. So if anyone wants to check out that podcast, it's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I kind of like specialize in narcissistic abuse and cult recovery because the crossover is extravagant. Like there's so many similarities. I would say there's more similarities than differences.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. When I started listening to this podcast, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that, but it does make that connection. And a few people, share their stories of being in a cult or a cult-like structure and share that the leaders were very narcissistic and just the system itself is narcissistic.
Absolutely. Yeah, and with that entitlement comes control. And I'll add that to my definition of cults as well. If there are methods of control that take away individuals' autonomy, definitely a cult.
Yeah, so talking about all of that, right? Being outside of cults now and having escaped from a cult. So these are things we wouldn't typically say, "Oh, let me join that. That sounds great." Right? So what is the allure? What makes it easy for people to get recruited? And you can also, I would love if you could share your story of how you were recruited.
Absolutely. Yeah. In a general sense, these groups and these leaders tend to do what we call in our field and the cult field, love bomb new members. And when new members show up and they're present, whether it's an online space or an in-person space, they're typically treated very well, very kind, treated like they are special, very warm, very welcoming. So automatically you're already feeling a sense of safety. They introduce you to a sense of belonging, like here's all of our members, or this is what we do. I also believe that people are drawn to the missions of the cults because cults usually have this greater than self mission of making the world a better place. So I genuinely believe that people want to do good. So when they hear that a group has this mission to do good and to help people, that is very alluring. On top of that, the leaders also tend to be very confident. They tend to be very charismatic, very nice. And it's easy to feel safe with those kind of people because they speak so matter of fact and they speak so eloquently and they know how to make it sound good. So you're attracted to the leader, you're attracted to the mission, you're attracted to the sense of belongingness right off the bat. And that's what happened to me in this online space. And it pretty much happens the same way. I started commenting on posts and joining live streams and joining chat rooms where this group was. And same thing, I felt like I was welcomed very warmly. I was made to feel special. I heard of their mission. Their mission sounded great. My cult leaders were husband and wife, so there were two of them. I thought they had a lovely relationship because cult leaders will also put on this persona or this facade about how happy they are, how enlightened they are, how close they are to whatever this sacred mission is, whether it's God or spirituality or anything. Like they are so close to them. So they have the money, they have the relationship, they have the houses, the cars, and you admire them. And I wanted to emulate that energy as well, which is an experience a lot of people have. So in the beginning, they're utilizing these tactics of undue influence that are designed to override your critical thinking so that you don't seek outside sources, you don't question them, you are made and tricked into trusting them. And that's exactly how it happened with me, just online. So through messages, through live streams.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And can you share where the online space, where this took place? And you mentioned that you moved up the ranks pretty quickly. What did that look like? What did those ranks and hierarchy look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So this all happened on TikTok for me. This group came up on my For You page. I followed them, and that's how I got involved. It was a spiritual group, and it consisted of astrology, tarot, herbalism, holistic wellness, all of that stuff. So I moved up the ranks fairly quickly by being very present. I attended almost all of the live streams for 2 years straight. I was very engaged with the other members, and I was getting all of the readings that they were providing for purchase. I was taking all of the classes that they were providing for purchase. I was doing all the extra classes, chatting with the leaders in between sessions and in between classes. So we had extra time to build a relationship. So we built a lot of trust. I was giving them a lot of money. I was getting a lot of their services. And then eventually they told me that they see in my astrology chart, they see in my energy that I should open a spiritual business like them. So they mentored me into opening a business, and I was pretty much the only student that started a successful business. And I want to put emphasis on successful business because they claim that they help people start their own spiritual businesses. But I was the only student that was going live every day like them, doing readings, doing live streams, bringing in communities, sending community to them. So I started recruiting for them, I started promoting them, and I started collaborating with other successful people. I published a book because I was being successful and putting in the work myself. They equated that to my success is because I'm a part of this group and because I'm working with them. So they took a lot of credit for that, but they were rewarding me because this is what cults do. They reward good behavior. So yes, keep paying for the classes, keep paying for the readings, keep promoting us. And that's how I moved up the ranks. And that's why they kind of put me on this pedestal, and they were kind of like, be like Taylor, like do all of this and you'll be successful. So I was kind of emulating what their version of success was that they were trying to sell. That's how I got up there and developed all this trust and closeness with them.
Okay, interesting. So, at what point did you realize that this was a cult or cult-like or a controlling organization?
Well, it took me a long time. I guess it could have been longer, but it took me almost the full 2 years of my involvement to really see it. But it was through the methods of control. So we were told to not trust other astrologers and spiritual workers. We were told that all other astrologers were liars, they were scammers, and that being a part of this group was protecting us from the outside world. We were told to not seek information elsewhere, don't learn from anyone else, don't get services from anyone else. So there's so many methods of control being used. And we had a doctrine, and the doctrine was the system that we were learning was created by the leader. And it's this new system of astrology, and it's the only one that's 100% accurate 100% of the time. So we were the special ones, and everyone else did not have the truth. We were the only ones who had the truth. And after a while, these are things I started catching on to. This was always the dynamic, but it took me 2 years to catch on to realizing that this isn't healthy and this is cult like behavior. Prior to being involved in this cult, I had no cult education whatsoever. So I had no idea that I was in a cult until I left. And I started telling these things that I'm telling you to other people. And other people are like, girl, you were in a cult. Like, that's, yeah. But what really got me personally was the us versus them, because I'm naturally a very open-minded person, inclusive person. I love connecting with people. I love building community. I love bringing differences together. But that's not what cults do. Cults claim to do that, but it's truly us or them. You're either in the group and you're good, or you're outside of the group and you're bad. So I felt like there was a rift between me and potentially anyone else I would want to interact with or be friends with. And not only was there a rift and a boundary between us or them, but the group leader would attack and antagonize other people on TikTok. They would make videos about them. They would talk about them on live streams, lie about people, call other people scammers and all of this. And it was mean and it was aggressive. And it was towards innocent people, people that I felt were innocent, people that I felt didn't deserve that. And that rattled me to my core because that goes against everything I value and that goes against everything I stand for. And at that point I couldn't take it anymore. So that's when I decided to leave because I felt like it was a reflection on me as a person and I could not I just couldn't justify being there anymore.
And what was that realization like for you, seeing the way they were treating other people, just keeping it very exclusive, that control, when you realized that this was cult behavior? What was going on for you internally, your thoughts? I mean, you're 2 years in at this point, very involved in this community. I would imagine that that was really rattling.
Yes, yes. The way that I describe it is that it kind of came down like a house of cards. It happened like one thing at a time, but very rapidly. I felt like my worldview was shattering. I felt like, just a lot of things were coming down. It was kind of a crisis at the time. Like it was, like you said, it was very rattling and it shook me and it was hard. Like it was hard to transition from my cult self back to my authentic self. So yeah, it's not an easy thing. And I think that's why people stay in cults sometimes for the time that they do, because cognitive dissonance theory is like, I spent all this time and all this money believing in them. So for me to question them or to not believe in them anymore, that means that time and that money is going to be wasted, which is not the truth. And this is what I help clients with that mindset and with processing that. But that was a factor for me as well. So I had to face the cognitive dissonance and the psychological discomfort with that. So yeah, no, it was not easy having the realization of the truth of the group that I was in and the fact that I needed to leave.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine because, like you said, that shatters your entire worldview. I mean, you were involved in this for years. So, walk us through leaving, escaping. How did this go for you? And was there that retaliation? Was there that, speaking out against you? How did that look?
Yeah, so I, for about a month, was debating whether or not I should leave or not. And the things that were going on in the cult did get worse and worse and worse to the point where I was like, all right, I'm definitely leaving. So this was like a month process. Since this was fully online, I didn't have an in-person meeting with them or anything. I decided to send them a very kind and respectful email, the same way that I would send any service provider an email discontinuing services. Like that happens. People see you, you have clients and then they leave when the work is done or they don't want to be there. So that's normal and that should be fine. Like that should be an acceptable thing to do. So I was like, I'm just going to email them like that. Like, how could they possibly, get mad at me for that? But I felt afraid to leave. I felt afraid to email them. And that was another sign that I was in a very unhealthy group and cult and situation. Like, if you ever feel fear or feel like you need a plan or feel just worried or a gut feeling that something bad's gonna happen or something's gonna go wrong for leaving this relationship, leaving this group, leaving this person, that is a huge sign that you are in a not safe situation. So that was very eye-opening to me. But I sent the email. I thanked them for everything. I wish them the best. I told them that I would still refer people to them and that I would still promote them and try to send people their way. But they responded back to me this email basically saying like after everything we've done for you, like we gave you your business name, we did this for you, we feel so used by you. Like it was very much like it was giving this vibe of like when you leave a dysfunctional family situation and then the parents are like, I put a roof over your head, like this and that. It's like family systems in a way. It was very toxic and very much trying to guilt and shame me for leaving. But then they topped the email off with threatening me. They threatened to take legal action against me if they caught me using anything that they taught me because they were trying to patent their system of astrology at the time. So it was guilt, it was shame, it was threats. And after I finished reading this email, I had a feeling in my gut that this was not going to be the end of their retaliation because I've seen who they are and what they do. And I thought to myself, what are the odds that they're live on TikTok right now talking about me? So I immediately go over to TikTok and they are live and they are talking about me. And long story short, within minutes, I watched them turn all of my friends and all of the other members in the group against me within seconds. So it all happened very quickly. They went live probably like a second after they sent me the email because I saw it as it came in. And I consider this the first round of retaliation. They, not only responded to me in a very negative way, but they also felt the need to make it public and also turn everyone else against me because it's us versus them. Since I declared that I'm not us anymore and now I'm them, they had to make it known to the group, hey, she's on the outside now and we don't like her. And not only that, but to really solidify this lie about me, they had to say things like, I use them for free information. I'm this awful person. I'm an opportunist, and how hurt they felt by me and my email and my departure. They made it seem like they just were straight up lying. That's what cults and cults leaders do. They lie. Yeah, like everyone just believed it and got on board, and that was it. Like I was demonized, my email was made out to be something it wasn't. I was made out to be something I wasn't. And I had to take a few days to process that because I was like, what on earth happened? Like this can't be healthy behavior for any adult, let alone group. So that was the start of it. That was the beginning of me leaving. I'll make long story short after that. So 3 days after I received that email and they did that live stream about me, I made a video clearing things up for my friends, for the internet at large. Like I was basically like, this is who I am. This is why I left. This is what I experienced. And yeah, I just want to use this as an opportunity to draw a very firm and thick line between me and this group. Anything I do now, not affiliated with them anymore. I don't approve of their behavior. I never used the word cult, but it was from posting this video online. Thousands of people messaged me and they're like, sounds like you were in a cult. The video did go viral because this group online does not have the best reputation. Their digital footprint is not the best because they attack people and they've hurt people, a lot of people. So everyone was just waiting for something to happen. So when the star student leaves and exposes what goes on behind closed doors, everyone lost their minds over it. For 2.5 months, my former group took all of their content down, all of their videos, everything in response to my video going viral. 2.5 months later, they come back, they're on social media again, and they're retaliating against me again. Now they're sharing my personal information, my secrets, my private information I told them in private readings, my family situation, bringing my family into it. So they upped it 2.5 months later, and they posted my private DMs and our conversations that we've had on Instagram, like while I was getting services from them. Like they were just doing anything they could. And I only responded a few times to defend myself when the lies got really bad. But then I took all my videos down and made this meme after a while of not posting. And it was a funny meme about my experience. It was something along the lines of like, when you think you're joining an astrological community, but really it ends up being a cult. Like it was dark humor. It was meant to be funny. It was meant for just me and my friends. Like that's it. And I was going to take it down right after my friends saw it and had a good laugh with me. And that video ended up getting 2.3 million views on it. And it spread so much awareness that so many people went over to their page on TikTok, the Mystic Rebels page, and was like, you're a cult and that was wrong to post that girl's DMs. Like, it's wrong for you to talk about her. It's wrong for you to expose her private information that she trusted. Like, people were standing up for me. And I was like, this is kind of the best case scenario. Like, this was not my intention, but I'm happy it's happening because now people could make informed decisions on whether or not they actually want to get involved with these people and with this group or not. But they didn't like that very much. So they sent me another email threatening me, but like super worse this time. And they also filmed this recording of them threatening me. And the leader was basically saying, like, Taylor, if you don't stop lying about your experience and if you don't stop playing the victim in all of this, he's like, then I will destroy you and I will destroy your life and I will destroy you with lawsuits. I have so much more money than you. And I will pour all of that money for the sole purpose of making you go bankrupt and taking you down. And I will purposely drag out the lawsuits on purpose just to make sure that you can never recover from it. And within their email, they said to me the same thing. And they're like, but you're going to suffer from this. It's going to be hard for your loved ones too. So again, they're bringing, my family into it, my loved ones into it. Just super, super vile and aggressive and threatening. They gave me a certain date to take my meme down. I believe it was December 20th. And the day came, and I did not take it down because cults thrive off of control and manipulation and power dynamics and fear. And I was like, I'm not afraid of you, and I'm not going to let you threaten me, and I'm not going to let you control me. And that's a really, really difficult thing to do when someone's threatening your life and threatening to destroy your life. So I didn't take it down. And essentially, the way that this whole thing, quote unquote, ended was they didn't do anything they threatened to do to me when I didn't take it down. They made an hour-long YouTube video explaining why they're not a cult, which sounded super culty the way that they defended themselves. Again, the leader took down all of his videos, but kept his wife videos up and started tiptoeing his way back on social media after getting called out. And I'm just like, whatever. I'm a therapist helping people who have faced people like you and healing from that. So that's what happened after I left, and that was the whole retaliation back and forth.
Wow, but that sounds so scary, intense, that vulnerability of all your private information, conversations being posted publicly. How long did this go on for, and when was your last interaction with them when did they finally stop targeting you? Like at this point, do you still ever hear from them at all?
Yeah, so July of 2024 is when they came back on social media and started targeting me again after disappearing when I first left in May. And they did that from July until about December. Yeah, so July 2024 to December 2024 was when they were exposing my information, attacking me, threatening me, talking about me, turning people against me, or at least trying to. I personally stopped engaging with them by December. So between July and December, I tried to ignore them as much as I could, but they were persistent and they wouldn't stop. So there were a few times where I posted videos defending myself that I have since taken down because this whole thing was just not relevant to what I'm trying to do today. So in December, I took it all down, and that's when I made my meme video. The last I heard from them directly was when they emailed me a little bit before December 20th, threatening me. Take this video down by this date, and we won't ruin your life and we won't destroy you and your loved ones, essentially. So that's the last I heard from them directly. I didn't take the video down. They made their YouTube video, and that was pretty much it. And early January of 2025, I decided to take down my meme on my own terms because I wanted to shift into mental health content and resources and like helping people and moving on from this situation. So at this point, I like to think that we are both moved on, although I know that I'm written in their history books as the demon who left and the villain who's like this awful person. Where we're at right now is that I'm focusing on me, and they are still trying to do damage control from being exposed and having the spotlight shown on them. But I don't stay updated too much on it anymore. Cults are really hard to make them cease to exist per se. They kind of have this like regeneration ability to just become more sophisticated in their cultiness. So I find meaning in providing preventative services and education on it. So I haven't heard from them since December. Regardless, I've been doing fine.
Okay, I'm so glad to hear that because it sounds like you went through a lot. That all sounds horrific. But it hasn't been that long. It's only been a couple of months. Do you have any fear at all that they're going to pop up again, or are you confident that was kind of the end of it?
No, no fear. Do I think they'll pop up again? Sure. I don't think that they learn from their mistakes. I think they repeat them and then repeat them even worse time and time again. I'm not checking anymore. I'm not keeping up to date on them anymore. I learned what I needed to learn about cults to help prevent people from being recruited or helping people notice the signs when they're present. So I got what I needed from the situation. Do I think that they'll still make videos or live streams talking about me and other people they don't approve of? Yes, that's their whole business model. No one else will listen to them otherwise. That's how they grow their following. So I do anticipate them continuing to be the way that they are. I don't want to say like that's fine because it's cult stuff and exploiting people and being bullies like and scammers, and that's never fine. But like I said, I found meaning and purpose in the work that I do now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just wondering through this process, because it was a 2-year process, were any of your friends or family aware of what was going on or that you were involved in a cult?
Yes. So no one called it a cult until I really came out with what I was truly experiencing behind closed doors. But my parents were concerned about my involvement with this group because I was on a very good track of getting my master's and having this goal of becoming a therapist. They were so excited for me. And then abruptly, that came to an end because I decided that I wasn't going to do this due to my bad internship experience. So right off the bat, they were concerned about that, and they still wanted this career and this life for me. And then when I joined this group, I started talking differently. I started talking in all or nothing, like this is the way and this is the right way. And I'm aligning with my energies because that was the doctrine. The doctrine is to align with your energies. And if you did, you'll live a good life. If you don't, you'll live a bad life. So my mission was like, oh, I'm going to align with my energies. And my parents they were kind of like, this is interesting. This is interesting. But at first they were like, okay, maybe this is a part of her healing process. But then I'm starting to give these people hundreds and thousands of dollars for classes and readings and services. And eventually they were like, hey, if these people truly are as rich as you say they are, then why do they need you, someone who doesn't have this career you work so hard for and a stable income? Why do they need hundreds of dollars from you per session? Like why are they taking your money and why are they making all of these promises? Like they did eventually they started to question and they're like, this seems a little weird. Like the promise of having this super successful business after you pay your dues, after you relinquish control, after you do X, Y, and Z. So they were kind of like, hey, like, have you thought about like getting back into like a stable job and and not doing cult stuff essentially? Like that was just the vibe of the conversations. But since I was indoctrinated into this group, I took them questioning me as questioning my leaders at the time. And I got very defensive and even agitated with them. And looking back, I have compassion because I was being influenced at the time. But I also feel bad that I even saw my own parents differently at some point for them being concerned for me. And that's not like me either. I've always had a very close relationship with my parents. So the fact that this group had a strain on that was also concerning for them. Yes. And then in terms of friends noticing, no, because all of my friends became this group. Like all of my friends were this group. So we were all in it together. So yeah, my parents they did express and see concerns about my involvement with them.
Okay, and I'm just wondering if you have any advice for loved ones that know that their family member, friend, partner is in a cult or suspect that their loved one is in a cult. What can loved ones do to help support, if anything?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for asking this question because this is so important. And this answer is more about what not to do than what to do, but I have both. So I really want to start with what not to do is don't be confrontational with your loved one. Don't come right out the bat and be like, you're in a cult. I think you're in a cult. This group is unhealthy. I think this leader is unhealthy because like my experience, it'll be very likely that they'll get defensive, especially if they believe in this group and believe in their leader and believe in this mission. They might take it a bad way. And this might actually push them further into the group because then they'll go back to their group leader and be like, well, my mom said this about you. And then the group leader's going to be like, well, that just shows how much not like us she is. And then it encourage separation or distance. So if you have a loved one in the group, try not to be confrontational or aggressive or even use the word cult. You have every right to be concerned and you should be, but also try to refrain from showing too much concern. What I would say is approach your loved one with curiosity. Like, hey, how did you find this group? What do you guys do? Just gather information in the most non-judgmental way that you possibly can and approach them with curiosity. Something else that loved ones could do is be intentional about maintaining a relationship with this person because the more links that they have to the outside world, the more likely it is that they are going to get out. The more isolated they are to this group, the less likely they're going to get out. So be their grounding in the real world. And there's so many different ways that you could do this, but you could talk about old memories that you had with them, things, about them, their pre-cult self enjoyed and all of that. And really bring in like old photos or old music or old experiences. And if your loved one has a boundary, like, hey, I don't want to talk about this, or hey, I don't want to talk about this group, or don't tell me certain things that I don't want to hear, try to do your best as being as respectful as that as possible. Because the goal isn't to convince them to leave, it's to maintain a relationship so that if and when they decide to leave, they know that they have you and that they could come back to you. So always leave that door open, and always, always, always make sure that you remind them that you love them, that you're here for them, and seek your own support and your own therapy, because you need a place to express your concern. You need a place to express your heartbreak of losing your loved one, but you can't express it to them if you truly want to help them get out. There's a time and a place for it. Like, for example, Dr. Stephen Hassan was in the Moonies, and one of the things that helped him snap out of his indoctrination was when his father started crying and said to him, how would you feel if your son dropped out of college, joined this controversial group, and you never see him anymore? And his dad, like, this was the first time he saw his dad cry. And that was something that helped him. But I would say, like, that comes later in the process. To start, just keep the open door and be as non-judgmental as you possibly can.
Those are really great tips. Thank you for sharing that because especially with this online space, I feel like a lot more people are going to be kind of experiencing these kind of things. As a clinician specializing in cult recovery, how do you support clients in their healing journeys, people that have left cults, people that have realized that they're in a cult?
Yeah, so this process looks a little bit different for each of my clients depending on the kind of group they were in, how long they were in the group. There's also a significant difference between clients who were born into cults versus clients who were recruited into cults. There's a major difference there as well. Some of the main things that come up in a lot of these situations, regardless of circumstances, is understanding the difference between your cult self and your authentic self. A lot of the times I'm asked by these clients, how do I know that what I'm doing and what I'm feeling is my own? Like, how do I know these are my own thoughts and my own actions and my own beliefs and not the beliefs of the church or not the beliefs of this group? So, really separating the cult self and the authentic self and emphasizing, what does the authentic self mean to you? When do you feel most like yourself? Another big one is self compassion. A lot of people feel dumb or they feel silly or embarrassed that they were a part of a group like this, that they were manipulated like this, controlled like this. So, strong emphasis on self compassion. Something that I remind clients of all the time is that the mechanisms and uses of control that were imposed on them were designed to override their critical thinking. So, how could you hold it against yourself for not thinking critically when you were quite literally tricked into not using your critical thinking and made to believe that you were? Like, how could you blame yourself for that? Like, this was intentional. And reminding them that you're free now and you're out now and you persevered, and that's what's important. So self-compassion is a huge one. I would say those are the two main ones. And then a lot of psychoeducation on cults, a lot of psychoeducation on kinds of influence. Trusting the self and trusting others again is another challenge that many cult survivors face. Trusting your own intuition and ability to see these things. And also trusting others, like, hey, like, are you going to exploit me? Are you going to lie to me? Like, how do we rebuild those relationships, which is another one that we focus on as well.
Okay, great. Taylor Marie, this has been amazing, so informative, so educational. Is there anything that we did not touch on that you feel like is important for people to know, or any words of wisdom or advice that you have for our listeners?
Yes, absolutely. For everyone in general, understanding cult dynamics will always be relevant to you because you do not have to be in a cult or be a cult leader to experience undue influence. Influence is everywhere. So learn about narcissistic abuse, learn about the methods of control, learn about cult dynamics, because the underlying theme is manipulating you and tricking you. So the more that you're aware of these strategies, the more likely you are to respond to them. So learn your psychological defense is what I call it. And for clinicians or anyone interested, I strongly recommend Dr. Stephen Hassan's book, Combating Cult Mind Control, as well as checking out the influence continuum and the bite model of control. These are science-based, evidence-based ways of quantifying and measuring healthy from unhealthy influence, and also assessing groups and individuals for controlling manipulative cult-like behavior. We have ways to actually like measure that now quantifiably.
Okay, great. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that. I will absolutely link those things in the show notes and check them out as well. I'm glad you brought that up because I was wondering if, so you said specifically that was for clinicians. Do you have any sort of podcast? I mentioned the podcast Navigating Narcissism. Are there any sort of podcasts, documentaries, TED Talks, books, anything that you recommend to people that are not clinicians, friends, families, loved ones that are concerned?
Absolutely, yes. So I may be a little biased in my recommendations because I was on these three podcasts within the past like 2 months myself. So my episodes are on there, but they do a really great job of educating and helping people understand and helping their loved ones and all of that. So one is the Cultimatum podcast with Melody and Andrew. They're wonderful, amazing. The other is Was I in a Cult podcast. Highly recommend that one. And I also strongly recommend Cults and the Culting of America. All of them are about cults, but they approach it in their own unique way. So they're all interesting, and I feel like they all have something for everyone.
Oh, amazing. I will definitely check those out. And everyone, I'm going to link those in the show notes. So definitely go check that out. And specifically Taylor Marie's episodes, her interviews. Taylor Marie, this was so amazing, so helpful for people to know. And I thank you so much for sharing your story. Such an important one for people to hear, especially since a lot of people, I work with teens and they're just in the online space all the time. And they tell me that they're in all these chat rooms and they're meeting all these people and these friends that they have and these relationships that they're in with people they've never met. So I think a lot of people are susceptible to this. And it's important to know. And I think also for parents specifically, know that your kids are in all of these chat rooms. They're in these online spaces. They're making friends online. So be aware of what they're experiencing, how they're
Yes.
participating, how they're engaging.
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you so much for having me. I mean, this is, my passion, and, thank you for holding this space for me to talk about it.
Absolutely. I would love if you could share where everyone can find you.
Yes, so right now I am Taylor Marie Therapy on TikTok and Instagram, and that is where I will be posting all of my updates for future stuff. But that is also where you could find my tips, tricks, coping skills, education for recovering from narcissistic abuse and cult recovery.
Okay, such an important resource. Everyone, all of these links are going to be in the show notes. Definitely go check out Taylor Marie, especially if you suspect that you are in a cult, in a narcissistic, abusive relationship, or suspect a loved one is in that kind of experiencing that dynamic. Taylor Marie, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. For detailed show notes, go to accordingtodez.com/, and then whatever episode number this is. So again, that's accordingtodez.com/episode number. If you'd like to work together, you can schedule a free coaching consult call, or you can join my Mindful Monday support group. Links are in the show notes. You'll also find a curated list of books written by or recommended by my amazing podcast guests on my Amazon storefront, so be sure to check that out. If you loved this episode, share it and tag me on social media. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Wellness Project with Des. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment. For more wellness resources, you can visit my website, accordingtodez.com. There you'll find wellness blogs, expert interviews, and a wide variety of digital products like ebooks, audio meditations, and downloadable journals to support your mental health and personal growth. If you gain value from this podcast, consider supporting the show by buying me a coffee. at buymeacoffee.com/The Wellness Project with Des. Your support helps the podcast to grow and allows me to continue bringing you incredible guests and valuable content. While you're at it, join my email list to stay in the loop on everything I have available for you. As a thank you, you'll receive a free downloadable coloring book with positive affirmations. I'd also love for you to join my Facebook community where we dive deeper into each episode with discussions, journal prompts, reflections, and mental health and wellness content. It's a supportive space, and I'm there daily. Come say hi. The link is in the show notes. And don't forget to check out my Redbubble shop. The Wellness Project by Des, my collection of mental health and wellness products, is designed to uplift and inspire. From fun and uplifting apparel to motivational notebooks and bags, you can browse the collection at my Redbubble shop and be sure to favorite my store because I'm always adding new designs. And if you have a custom idea, feel free to message me. I'd love to create something special for you. Thank you so much for being here. I'll be back soon with another episode, and until then, I hope you have a calm and peaceful week.